We're also following breaking news on Capitol Hill. The Senate has finally reached an agreement on a government funding bill just ahead of tomorrow's deadline to avert a shutdown. Right now, senators are voting on a series of amendments ahead of a vote on the $1.7 trillion government funding bill. Negotiations hit a major sticking point over a last-minute push by Republicans to add an amendment to reinstate the Trump-era immigration policy known as Title 42. NBC's senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor joins us from Capitol Hill. NBC's Josh Lederman is standing by at the White House. So, Sahil, do we know how lawmakers were able to finally reach a deal?
We do, Jose. After a 2 a.m. impasse, the Senate has reached agreement to hold a potpourri of amendment votes, 17 specifically, followed by final passage of this $1.7 trillion government funding bill. It is expected to pass. The legislation moved forward with 70 votes. And the snag last night was about protecting the coalition behind this bill. So Republicans had demanded an amendment pushed by Senator Mike Lee of Utah relating to Title 44, assuring that it would stay in place and defunding the office of the Homeland Security Secretary unless it wasn't. That was obviously not going to fly with a lot of Democrats, particularly in the House. They feared that that was a poison pill that if it passed the Senate would doom the entire piece of legislation. So what Democrats did, which we've seen here in these internal machinations of the Senate, was they created a side-by-side amendment, an amendment by Senator Kyrsten Sinema that would temporarily keep Title 42 in place and also provide extra funding for immigration courts, border enforcement, ICE detentions, and that sort of thing. That amendment is expected to fail. So what you have is two amendments that are expected to fail, and the bill is likely to move as is to the House of Representatives, maybe with some minor changes, but no poison pills. That's what Democrats were determined to prevent, and Republican leaders who support the bill. And they appear, for the moment, to have achieved that. This bill is likely to achieve final passage sometime in the next few hours, Jose. And let's not forget what it does. $1.7 trillion, $45 billion in aid to Ukraine. It's not a coincidence that the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, was in Congress just last night making his case for the importance of U.S. assistance. It would also include a major rewrite of election laws to prevent another January 6th by closing the loopholes that former President Trump and his allies tried to use to stay in power, even though he lost the 2020 election. And it would give the Justice Department another $200 million for U.S. attorneys that they can use to prosecute January 6th cases. Finally, it would ban TikTok on government devices for national security reasons. After this, it goes to the House of Representatives, Jose, where the bill is also likely to pass. President Biden has said he will sign it into law.
And any idea, Sahil, what the process as far as timing is on this? So now you're saying that just within hours the Senate could deal with it, and then it would go to the House, and then finally to the president's desk. How long would that process take?
Well, in the Senate, it's likely to happen over the next few hours. Some of these amendments will either, if they're, agreed upon widely, will happen by a voice vote. The Senate is trying to hold members to 10 minutes per amendment. Let's see if they actually do that. That tends to be more of a hope than a reality. But after this, Jose, it goes to the House where it can be processed very quickly. They don't need unanimous consent to do things. It would go through the Rules Committee in a matter of hours, and within a matter of hours on the floor itself, a brief debate and a final vote after that, they can get it done before the Friday at midnight deadline if the Senate holds to its schedule.
And Josh, any reaction from the president yet?
Not yet, Jose. We've asked the White House how they feel about this deal, as well as how quickly the president will sign it into law, presumably very, very quickly, because after the initial text was released, the White House Budget Office called it a compromise, said that the White House didn't get everything they wanted out of this compromise deal, but instead, nonetheless, urged senators to pass it without delay. And so we do expect the president will sign this legislation pretty much as soon as he receives it, not only because of the importance of keeping the government functioning, but because, as Sahil mentioned, the $45 billion in this package that is for not only Ukraine, but also our NATO allies, really critical to President Biden's ability to deliver on the long-term commitment to Ukraine that he made during that visit yesterday with President Zelensky.
I mean, I guess it would total, when you add these $45 billion, almost $100 billion that Ukraine has been given.
It's a huge amount of money. We're already well north of $20 billion, as President Biden mentioned several times as he hosted President Zelensky yesterday. Those numbers are only expected to increase, which is a part of what the U.S. hopes will help to spur its allies, frankly, in Europe to continue spending money as well. The fact that the U.S. Is continuing to put skin in the game, President Biden hoping that that will continue to be the case even next year when Republicans are in control of the House.